So I'm really nervous. I really think that filming these videos does not get easier for me. Talking about anxiety is an anxiety trigger. But I know it's worth it. From my DMs and the messages and the comments that I receive, I know it's so worth it. I know it's so important to talk about and to get more awareness out there. So that is why I am here. At no point am I ever doing these videos for attention, for anyone to feel bad for me, for anything other than to maybe help somebody, to give somebody comfort in knowing that they're not alone, and just to kind of reach out and be like, I'm here too, you know? When talking about anxiety coping strategies, it's very difficult because I have an understanding that everybody's anxiety is so different. So for me to talk about the strategies that have worked for me, they're not necessarily going to work for everybody, and everybody's anxiety is so different. But if one of these things helps somebody in this world, or all of them help, or even none of them help, but it just helps that somebody is out here talking about it, then I am doing my job. My anxiety definitely comes in waves, and I've had it for my entire life. So to try and sit down and figure out exactly what I do to cope was a little bit difficult. I collaborated with one of my sisters who goes through the same things that I do, and it has been just a great source of mentorship for me. So we collaborated, I sat down, I organized my thoughts, and I feel like I'm ready. I don't have all of the answers when it comes to anxiety and mental illness, but I promise you I will walk with you through it. And that's the only thing that I can promise you, is that there will be good days and bad days, and I will never have all the answers, but I will be there with you. You are never alone. And that's all I can promise you. Okay, so the very first thing that I think is the most important thing when it comes to dealing with anxiety is triggers. Is finding out what your triggers are. Everybody's triggers are going to be different, but I think it's really important for us to identify the things that really set us off. Once I really started to dig into my anxiety instead of running from it and finding out what triggers me and what doesn't, I was able to kind of reorganize my life so that it's a little bit easier for me. I'm not saying don't face those moments when you know it's going to be a trigger, because I think that's important to fight through sometimes, but also it gives you a sense of preparedness if you're going to be faced with that situation. So for me, when I know I have something really early in the morning, it's difficult for me. It's a trigger for me. I could stay up then all night worrying that I'm not going to sleep, and then I won't sleep. It's just the way it goes. So in any given situation, if I can avoid, making plans first thing in the morning, I will do that. Sometimes it's unavoidable with my job and everything, and in those cases, I understand that I'm going to be triggered, and just going in with an understanding that this is what's going to happen, it kind of calms my anxiety a little bit. It kind of takes the fear away from my anxiety. I also think when it comes to figuring out what your triggers are, it's really important not to dig in too much into why, just what your triggers are. Because the why, for me, it doesn't matter. The why is because I have anxiety. Like my brain is wired differently. Like that is the why. Don't spend time beating yourself up as to why this certain situation is a trigger. At different times, different things are triggers for me. So I think it's really important to also continuously reanalyze the things that are triggers for you so you can prepare yourself. So for me, when I'm uncomfortable, I'm a fidgeter. So my hands shake a lot. I shake a lot just in general. So I play with my hands a lot. And if I'm in a social situation where my hands are shaking and I'm doing this a lot, and I'll start to rub my hands, I'll play with them. It's just a sense of comfort for me because I'm very nervous. having something, like sometimes I'll bring one of those little fidgety things and I'll just keep it under the table, like say I'm at a restaurant or something, keeps me occupied. Just little things that I can do to prepare myself when I have an understanding of my triggers. And that will be different for you, but just, dig into it. Don't run from it. The second thing I do to cope is get out of your head. For me, anxiety consistently tells me to stay, in a dark room, obsessively thinking about something. Like, if I could just spend entire days in dark rooms, obsessively going over something, that's where I would be at if I didn't force myself to get out of my head. This is 10 times easier said than done, and I have an understanding of that, and some days it doesn't work. Some days I do spend entire days in bed, obsessively thinking, crying, raging, uncontrollable, panicking. It happens, but I have an understanding that that's okay. And the next day, it's a new day. I can get up, I can try again. That's life. In environments that allow you to get out, do. So if I am in a social situation and my husband is there, now we are at a point where he can recognize the signals of me kind of slipping into a panic situation, a full-blown panic attack. He has seen it a lot, so he can recognize those signals, but my friends don't. So if I'm with people I am comfortable with, I can just say to them, I need to get out now. I have to go. So in environments that allow you to get out, when you start to panic and anxiety starts to take over, get out, just go. It's okay. In social situations where you have the ability to leave. It's okay. Sometimes things are overwhelming. That's life. Sometimes, though, unfortunately, we are in environments where we can't get out. And environments where I can't get out, say like meetings or on a bus or situations where I feel like I can't escape if need be, it's a huge trigger for me. So what I've learned to do and what has worked for me is that I try and find something in that moment, because anxiety takes me out of the moment and gets me into my head. So what I do is I try and find something in the room to focus on. So say I am in a meeting with a bunch of people and everyone's talking and I can feel it, my heart start to race and I'm starting to sweat. I try and get out of my head by finding something in that room I can be grateful for. Because gratitude instantly takes you out of your own head. The proven fact that you cannot be both grateful and anxious or fearful at the same time. So anything, it doesn't have to be gratitude driven, but that's what works for me. Anything that gets you out of your head is the best thing. So I'll start to, when I'm sitting there, everyone's talking, I'll start to focus on something. So if I can see a window outside, I'll look outside and be like, okay, all right, it's a beautiful day. I'm so grateful that the sun's out today. I'll look at that person speaking and I'll be like, oh, that person is very intelligent. I'm grateful that I am able to be in this meeting and learn from this person. And say I have coffee in front of me, I'll be like, oh, like I'm grateful for coffee because I love coffee. Anything that gets you out of your head and you can try and start to focus on, that really works for me in environments where I can't get out. If it gets to a point where I have to, I just excuse myself to go to the washroom. I go to the washroom and I do deep breathing. Honey, I really do. I do deep breathing and I try and just focus on my breathing, gratitude, other things that I can focus on. Anything to get you out of your head, because as long as you're staying up here, you're going to stay in a loop of anxiety and it will only build and build and build. So environments that you can get out, go. Environments that you can't get out, try and find something other than what you're thinking about to focus on. And it has to be really be able to focus on it and think about it. So gratitude is a good thing for me, because you have to be like, okay, why? That's great. Why am I thankful for it? And I have to think of a reason. So the looping pattern of anxiety gets kind of broken by that. In the same kind of get out of your head mentality would be exercise. You know, a lot of times exercise is not about for me what my body's going to look like. It's about how I feel. It's an escape for me. When I'm working really hard, I do not have the ability to think and squat 85 pounds at the same time. Like, I can't be like, oh my gosh, what if this person's thinking this and I'm actually really sick and I probably am gonna, like, I can't. I'm literally just like, okay, make it through this squat. So exercise has been an excellent tool. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to do anything. You can get on the treadmill. You can just do anything to move your body, and I promise you, it gets you out of your head. Also, getting outside, bodies of water, big bodies of water is a proven fact of being a calming sense of energy. So if you live close to an ocean, honey, go near that ocean. I promise you, you will feel instantly calmer. Go outside. Just, it's important to just not allow yourself to stay in situations where you have the ability to obsess. And I know that's easier said than done, but when I am in my most panicking state, my husband will take me out somewhere. Like, he will take me onto our balcony, or he'll take me outside. And even if I don't want to go, there's been dark times where he's had to literally carry me outside so that I can, that makes me emotional. Sorry. Woo! There's been dark times. We've all had dark times, but there's been times when he's had to carry me outside so that I can get into a different environment and breathe fresh air. And it's just little things that really can help you get out of your head. The third thing that I have really learned to do and has helped is reading and writing. I try and read positive books, future-focused books, books on manifestation, books on positivity, books that really help me to plan my future, to get excited, to really sell the idea that this world is of abundant opportunity. I think anxiety is extremely negative and fear-based and wants you to believe that everything is terrible. So by reading positive, future-focused books, it really helps me to understand that this world is actually a beautiful place and there's so many opportunities, and it's not what I'm making it seem in my head. I have the ability to do anything I put my mind to. So I'm currently reading Before Happiness. I'll link the books below. Before Happiness, which I absolutely love. Facts. You Are a Badass. Listen, that book was the first book I picked up and started reading in so long that is a positive kind of spiritual book, and it changed my life. If you want to pick up a book and you want like a no BS kind of way of going about it, read You Are a Badass. So good. I also listen to podcasts when I'm driving, because driving for me, I can't distract myself. I am just by myself, and I have a long drive home from work at like 3 a.m., which is a super fun time for my anxiety because I've just worked, so I can think about all the things that I did during work. It's magical. It's just so magical. So I listen to podcasts because when somebody's speaking to me and I have to comprehend what they are speaking about, I can't be thinking. So Super Soul Sundays, Oprah's podcast, honey, that will have you in your feelings. You won't be able to be up here. Like, it's just, Super Soul Sundays is amazing. If there's one podcast I can recommend to you, it's that one. So just reading and getting your mind outside of itself. Again, it leads back to getting out of your head. Writing and talking it out is a huge thing for me. So when my husband is around, so if you have a safe person that understands your anxiety, or just doesn't even need to understand it, respects it, talking it out has been a huge help for me. When I get so far gone in my head, if I start to speak on it and tell my husband exactly what I'm thinking, he can get me to the end of it. So he'll be like, okay, and then what? And so I'll say, well, then this will happen. And he'll be like, okay, and then what? Okay, well, then this will happen. And I get all worked up just to realize that the end result is really not that fearful. I heard once that our greatest fear oftentimes has already happened to us. Besides the point, when I can get to the end of my anxiety, thought driven, and I say it out loud, once you say it and verbalize it, it takes so much of the fear away. You know, keeping it up here, that's when we really can make up all sorts of situations. But once you verbalize it, you can hear it from a different standpoint. It can help you understand that that is not real. What you are fearing is not real, you know. And if you don't have somebody you trust in your life, or you don't feel comfortable talking it out, writing it out helps. Sometimes, even when my husband is around, I'm too far gone up here, I will just write all the thoughts that come into my mind. Because I think what this does for me is it allows me to understand and see my thoughts outside of myself, so that I can understand that those thoughts are not who I am. These thoughts are not me. These are just circling thoughts that are happening in my head, and they don't construct who I am. The next thing I think is really important, and only something I've learned recently in my life, is to surround yourself with positive, uplifting people who are going places in their life and who are determined to succeed in their own lives. Who we surround ourselves with has a huge part in our state. And I have learned the importance of surrounding myself with positive people, because what's up here is not often positive. And if I surround myself with negative people who aren't doing anything, it's only going to amplify what's happening up here. And we have to make sure it's okay to not hang out with anybody, rather than to hang out with somebody who's going to be a negative influence in your life. We have enough negativity. We have enough happening up here that's telling us negative things about the world and ourselves constantly, that if you're surrounded by people who are positive, you will start to believe it. I really don't want this video to be 40 minutes long, so the last thing I am going to talk about is talking to your doctor. I could make maybe I will make an entire video on kind of anxiety and being medicated. We need to end the stigma of mental illness and being on medication. You know, as anxiety gets more and more awareness and talked about more, I think this will happen, but I still feel like there is such a stigma. Anxiety is so real. It is just like any other thing that, I have said this before, any other thing that happens health-wise in your body that you would medicate. Don't just think because it is in your mental that it should not be treated like every other health thing that happens in your body. It is just as valid if that is your journey with your doctor. But I encourage you to talk to your doctor about what happens up here and your anxiety or whatever you go through. It's really important. It's so important that we end this stigma. I'm not saying that medication is for everybody and their journey, but it is for some people who are not on it because of the fear of the stigma that it produces. I was one of those people. I was extremely fearful of going on medication because it was part of how I was raised, that medicating mental illness is not, should not be a thing, really. But I've seen a lot of counselors. I did a lot in my journey with anxiety, and for me it was time. I've been on anti-anxiety medication for, I guess, almost a year now, and it has changed my life. I could not ever imagine where I am at now. It is the best thing that has ever happened for me. Do I think it's for everybody? No. But I do think that you have a right to have a conversation with your doctor without feeling shame. Honey, do not let anybody tell you whether you should or shouldn't be on medication unless it is your doctor. Because 99% of the time, the people who are telling you that you should not deal with your mental illness with medication have never experienced the things that we have gone through. And unless you have walked in my shoes and you have seen the dark days of what anxiety can do to somebody's life, you cannot, and I will not allow you to place judgment on my situation. And And I just want to be an advocate for ending stigma and shame that comes along with being medicated for your mental illness. Just empower yourself enough that if you are in a situation that feels helpless, to talk to your doctor. I get heated, honestly. I'm very passionate about it because I've had a lot of people try and shame me. A lot of people trying to shame me for the fact that I take medication, and it was very difficult for me to get on medication. The day that I got the medication a year ago, I went home and I bawled for almost 2 days because I felt like I had failed. And I just don't want someone else to go through that feeling. You are not failing. You are empowering yourself if you go and have a conversation with your doctor. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Totally fine. Get it how you live. Whatever works for you, do that. It is your journey. It is your mental health, and you have the power to do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. Okay. So those are my tips and tricks to deal with anxiety. Whew, I feel like that was a lot. I got emotional in the middle. A lot just happened. I might have talked really fast. My heart's beating fast. Just know that on the bad days, you are just as amazing as you are on the good days. It doesn't change your worth that you couldn't get out of bed one day, because guess what? You have a chance and an opportunity to get out of bed the next day and keep fighting. There is nothing more terrifying than going to war with yourself every single day. There's nothing more terrifying than that. We are constantly at war with ourselves, and everything that I accomplish is not without the most difficult fight with myself. And that is something you need to be proud of. That even if you get out of bed today and you get some water, that is an accomplishment. Some of these things might help you. None of these things might help you. I'm not here to say that they will or won't. All I'm here to say is that I am with you. You are not alone. That's all I can say. And I love you guys so much, and your guys' support has meant everything to me. The DMs, the comments that I get, I can't even express to you how grateful I feel for all of you. Don't forget to subscribe. My journey is your guys' journey, and I just want us to be in this together. I love you guys so much. I will see you in my next video. For all your comments asking about JR, I think he's going to be in my next video. He is excited. He's been talking about it. He misses you guys. He's coming back, honey. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. I love you guys. Bye.